Welcome to Politics for Patriots. Here's your host, the eviscerator of progressive nonsense, the executioner of imbecility, and the grim reaper of BS, Eddie Zipper.
All right, welcome to episode 73 of the Politics for Patriots podcast. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe on iTunes, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, every time you subscribe to a conservative podcast, a liberal somewhere sheds a tear.
It's science.
So don't be a science denier. Subscribe to as many conservative podcasts as you can, starting with Politics for Patriots. Okay, Bernie Sanders, whose biggest dream in life is to take all your money, put it in a bucket, and stand on a parade float and throw it to people like candy, calls himself what? A democratic-socialist, which I think is a really interesting term. Can you think of any other political ideology, economic ideology, or philosophy that has to drag around a modifier with it? In the term democratic socialism, the democratic part is there to try to vouch for the socialist part, right? You've seen a movie where the bouncer stops the ugly girl from going into the club, but then the really attractive girl is like, it's okay, she's with me, and they both end up getting to go into the club. That's what democratic socialism is. The bouncers are hardworking American voters, and we're like, socialism, I don't think so. And then democracy hops in, and it goes, nah, it's okay, she's with me. It's like the socialism part of the term is erectile dysfunction. But the democratic part is an expensive sports car. And someone is like, oh no, oh, you have erectile dysfunction? And the guy is like, no. Racecar, erectile dysfunction. It's a completely different situation. It's actually better than being healthy with a regular car somehow. And of course, that's all just a cover. It's a Jedi mind trick.
You don't need to see his identification.
We don't need to see his identification.
Right? If you listen to the last episode, you already know this is how Democrats roll. They're like those aliens from Mars Attacks who show up and say,
"We come in peace,"
and then take out their phasers and blow up everything. What you have to see here is that the two things are actually mutually exclusive. Having a pretty friend does not make the unattractive girl who got into the club somehow more attractive. It doesn't change the way she looks at all. You can own the race car. It doesn't make having ED any better. Socialism is an economic philosophy. Democracy is a form of government. Okay, democracy cannot vouch for socialism. They have despotism in China. Xi Jinping is president for life. You can't criticize him in the media there. But they have capitalism. Do you think the capitalism can cover for the despotism there? Do you think Xi Jinping corrects people? Not despotism. Despotic capitalism. Oh, I didn't realize it was the good kind of despotism. I thought it was just plain despotism. I didn't realize that it was despotic capitalism. I mean, now that I know, where do I sign up? It's like, I thought it was erectile dysfunction. It's race car erectile dysfunction. Oh, well, that sounds lovely. So over on the left, this term, democratic socialism, is becoming the great legitimizer of far-left idiotic economics. Oh, it's democratic socialism. Yeah, of course it is. You can't change the system of government that we have. I mean, I'm sure you'd love to, but you can't. And I know some of you out there are right now saying, hey, we're a republic, not a democracy. Yes, that is true. And I entirely concede that point. But really, we're a democratic republic. And those two things actually are not mutually exclusive the way democratic socialism and democratic republicanism is actually a real thing. The word democratic actually does modify the word republic. Okay, it means we're a republic, but we're a specific kind of republic, a democratic republic. The republic part simply means that people represent us in the government and are empowered to make decisions on our behalf. The democratic part means that those people get to represent us because we elect them through direct democracy. Members of the House are elected through direct democracy. Members of the Senate, thanks to the 17th Amendment, are elected through direct democracy. So, there are very strong elements of democracy at play in our system. We're a democratic republic, but put that aside for right now, because what's important for this discussion is that the democratic part of democratic socialism is referring to our system of government. That's the way that they mean it. So like I said, this term is becoming the great legitimizer of far-left idiotic economics. It's democratic socialism. Yeah, of course it is. You can't change the system of government that we have, even though I bet you would love to. You can come up with the worst idea in the history of the planet, and you can still pop the word democratic onto the front of it. Democrats love a good word game, remember?
We come in peace.
Alright, take something Democrats hate. They constantly gripe about President Trump being a nationalist. They want to conflate that with being a white nationalist. One of those things is bad and nasty and racist and awful, and the other one is fine. Being a nationalist is fine. Okay, well, what if he starts saying tomorrow that he's not a nationalist? He's a democratic nationalist. You think that'll do anything for them? You think they'll go, oh, a democratic nationalist. Now we like nationalism. Of course, Republicans don't engage in the word games, so they're not ever going to say anything that dumb. They're not going to come up with something that dumb. Oh, if we put the word democratic, maybe everyone will think it's okay. Whether you like nationalism or you don't like nationalism, putting the word democratic in front of it in no way changes the state of the nationalism. It's still the same thing. If you want to enact nationalist policies, there's no other way to do it in the United States of America except through democratic nationalism. Okay, so despotism is terrible, and socialism is terrible. Capitalism doesn't make despotism okay. If you're a despotic capitalist, that's not okay. And democracy does not make socialism okay. I guess the idea here is that, you know what, let's just simplify the hell out of it. Say you're hungry, so you buy a pizza, and Pizza Hut cuts your pizza into 8 slices. In despotic socialism, the government just takes 6 slices of your pizza, they keep 5 slices for themselves, and then they redistribute 1 slice. In democratic socialism, the government takes 6 slices of your pizza, they keep 5 slices for themselves, and then they redistribute 1, but it's okay because some moron who represents you voted yes on the bill that gave the government permission to seize your pizza. Is that better? That people who represent you voted for it? I guess. But it doesn't leave you with any more pizza. Democratic socialism is better than regular socialism, the exact same way that Racecar erectile dysfunction is better than erectile dysfunction. What if someone told you you could have the Racecar and be healthy? Well, that's the deal that you should take. Racecar healthy is way better than Racecar erectile dysfunction. Racecar healthy is democratic capitalism. Except nobody in the history of the world has ever said democratic capitalism because capitalism doesn't need a pretty friend to vouch for her. She can get past the bouncer all by herself. Socialism always sucks. Alright, that's just my 2 cents. Or, as they say in Venezuela, that's just my 12 trillion bolívares. That's an inflation joke. See, in socialist Venezuela, a cup of coffee in January of 2018, this is from Bloomberg News, by the way. In January of 2018, a cup of coffee in Venezuela cost half a bolivar. That's roughly like paying 50 cents for a cup of coffee in the United States. You know what a cup of coffee in Venezuela costs now? 1,700 bolivares. You can't even imagine that in the United States. What if a cup of coffee were to cost $1,700 this time next year? And I haven't even told you the full story. Halfway through this journey from a cup of coffee costing half a bolivar to $1,700 bolivares, that is actually not true, because halfway through something happened. When you say it went from half a bolivar to 1,700 bolivares, you're actually comparing two different currencies. You're comparing the old bolivar to the new bolivar. In actuality, if you stay consistent on the currency and you compare old bolivares to old bolivares, coffee went from half a bolivar to 170 million bolivares.
Dollar bills, y'all.
Of course, that's theoretical, because I seriously doubt you can actually find any coffee in Venezuela now. I read an article that said, by August 2018, the Venezuelan currency was worth so little that it was more prudent to use cash for toilet paper rather than buy toilet paper. Then guess what happened? Everyone who actually had any savings left, they just left Venezuela. They left the country. Everyone with any means whatsoever left the country. What destroyed the economy there was socialist policies. And these policies will destroy the country. These economic policies will destroy the country, whether one person unilaterally decided these are going to be our economic policies, or whether 10 idiots who represent the people went and voted for them to be the policies. They're the same policies. And I bet some of the policies sound familiar. Nationalizing private industry. Does that sound familiar to anyone? Right? The free market isn't doing a good job. The government needs to step in. How about fiscally irresponsible social programs? I mean, if that one doesn't sound familiar, you're not paying very close attention to the Democratic primary right now. Bret Stephens wrote a fantastic opinion piece in the New York Times. Believe me, that's not something I say very often. But this one is fantastic. He talks about how all the big-time democratic socialist types were praising Chavez back when he implemented these policies. One of the chief... Okay, this is from Bret Stephens' opinion piece. One of the chief selling points of Chavismo, or Hugo Chavezism, one of the chief selling points of Chavismo to its Western fans wasn't just that it was an example of socialism, but of democratic socialism too.
We come in peace.
If the policy prescriptions were familiar, the consequences were predictable. Government overspending created catastrophic deficits when oil prices plummeted. Worker co-ops wound up in the hands of incompetent and corrupt political cronies. The government responded to its budgetary problems by printing money, leading to inflation. Inflation led to price controls, leading to shortages. Shortages led to protests, leading to repression and the destruction of democracy. People like Bernie Sanders and let's see, who else is a democratic socialist? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
I am not the expert.
People like this will destroy America if they get their way. Will they do it on purpose? Is that their goal, to destroy the American economy? I can't know that. That goes to their motivations, intentions, what's in their mind. I can't know those things. So I'm not alleging that democratic socialists have bad intentions. I'm not suggesting or alleging that they want to hurt America. Maybe they do. I don't know. Or maybe they started reading Animal Farm in high school and they got bored halfway through and just quit reading. And ever since then, they've gone through life thinking that socialism ended really well for the beasts of Animal Farm. Oh, wow, what an impressive windmill they built. I've seen enough. Socialism is the best. Or maybe they're just ignorant and stupidly believe that socialist policies will work this time. Of course, that's delusional. They're like Tobias on Arrested Development.
Well, did it work for those people?
No, it never does. I mean, these people somehow delude themselves into thinking it might, but it might work for us.
There you go, right there. That's democratic socialism in a nutshell. It hasn't worked for anyone ever, but it might work for us. Spoiler alert, socialism is fundamentally flawed at the theoretical level. It is based on false assumptions. It is based on the false assumption that most people, if given the choice between being productive and being leeches, will choose to be productive. See, if the outcome of doing nothing is equal to the outcome of hard work, very few people are going to choose the hard work. So the people in charge... Wait, what? People in charge? I thought it was socialism. There's no people in charge in socialism. There are always people in charge, even if they aren't officially in charge. You ever join a softball team at work for fun because it's going to be so fun to join the office softball team? At least you think it's going to be fun. And there's no manager. I mean, it ain't the Major League Baseball. Nobody is in charge of the team. It's socialist softball. And everyone will contribute according to their talents. And that will be fun for everyone. Then what happens? You have 8 shortstops. And that's where it begins. If 8 people want to play shortstop, if 8 people think they're talented shortstops, somebody's going to have to decide who's going to be the shortstop. So one monarchist attempts to seize the throne based on a legal claim. Hey, I filled out the form that created the team, so I should probably be in charge and make the decisions for the team. And then the other monarchist says, yeah, but it was my idea to have a team, and that's the only reason you ever filled out the form to begin with. So these two end up in a war of the roses. Meanwhile, Captain America, he has a different name at my work and your work, but he's the same guy everywhere. He's big and tall and good looking, and he played baseball in college. He has literally no legal claim to the throne, but he seizes it and starts giving orders. And suddenly, I'm in right field because I don't play pickup basketball with Captain America on Thursday nights at the local gym. Now that I'm in right field, everyone else discovers that the power vacuum has been filled. So now everybody wants to be first to legitimize Captain America's leadership. Why? Because being there for Captain America when he needs you to submit his leadership is a great way to gain political favor. Seconds later, Captain America's leadership has become official. The guys he plays pickup basketball with have taken all the good positions, and now I'm resentful that there wasn't a merit-based system because I'm much better than Captain America's friends and all my talent is being wasted in right field. Okay, so socialism is not the Elmo Learns to Share episode of Sesame Street, no matter how bad these people want it to be.
Elmo really wants to eat both cookies. He could give one to Cookie Monster.
Socialism is a giant power vacuum created by idiots. And that power will always be seized by the guy from the office softball team. And you either hate that guy, you are that guy, or you need that guy. Because you cannot get the position without him. You cannot succeed without him in power. So now there's no incentive left to work, so the people in charge have to force you to work. And they and their cronies become corrupt. It's Animal Farm every time. Bernie Sanders doesn't want to create a utopia for everyone in the United States. He wants to create a utopia for himself at everyone else's expense. Socialism is awesome if you are part of the ruling class. Or if you are a leech. If you have parasitic aspirations, socialism is utopia for you. It sucks big time if you're everyone else. This week, Bernie had to admit that this was priceless. Bernie Sanders had to admit that he's one of the millionaires that he goes around the country excoriating. Oh, he didn't want to have to admit it, but we're all about to see his tax return, so he got out ahead of this disaster and admitted that, yes, indeed, Bernie Sanders is a millionaire. He's not giving away his excess money to charities. He's buying himself more houses. Hey, whatever, man. It's not a crime to be rich, although it's a little hypocritical to go around demonizing people for being rich when you aren't giving away your own treasure. Bernie defended himself to the New York Times by saying what is unarguably the greatest quote in American history. Forget everything that Thomas Jefferson or Alexander Hamilton or George Washington or Thomas Paine or any other famous American ever said. Toss it all out, because this is the greatest quote in American history now. Bernie Sanders, here's why it's okay to be a millionaire. I wrote a best-selling book. If you write a best-selling book, you can be a millionaire too.
Dollar bills, y'all.
I wrote a best-selling book. If you write a best-selling book, you can be a millionaire too. And of course, the title of his best-selling book was Everyone's a Millionaire But You Because of the System. That's not really the title of Bernie's best-selling book, but it may as well be. I haven't read it, but I guarantee you that's what it's about. But that's what Bernie said. He said, I wrote a best-selling book. If you write a best-selling book, you can be a millionaire too. Interesting philosophy, Bernie. It interests me because, oh look, when Bernie is talking about his money, suddenly merit and hard work justify the big reward. When it's about his money, when it's about fishing around in his pockets the way he wants to fish around in everybody else's pockets, Bernie suddenly doesn't think it's a crime to be rich. Bernie suddenly has a very capitalist thing to say. If you write a best-selling book, you can be a millionaire too. Yeah, that's true. You know why? Because Bernie and the rest of the pigs aren't in control yet. In the end, socialism is a destructive, evil economic system, and it does not matter if you have it because some elected representatives voted for socialism or because a dictator imposed socialism on everybody. It's just as ruinous either way. It is the same policies no matter how they got there. You can try to dress it up, but nothing can vouch for socialism. Bernie and his cronies think that by saying democratic socialism, they're feeding us a pill the way you feed a pill to a dog, wrapped in a piece of meat that we like. They think that they're super smart and that the voters are not very smart. They're depending on leeches and stupid people. They think there's two kinds of people in America. They think there's coastal elites like them, and then there's middle America that's basically like,
of all the cousins I could have married, you was my sister.
But that's not reality. Most people are not like that. And in the end, no piece of meat can make socialism palatable because socialism sucks. All right, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please go to iTunes, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get podcasts and subscribe. If you leave a review on iTunes, that would be fantastic. That's it for today. I'm out of here.
But it might work for us.
You just listened to Politics for Patriots with Eddie Zipper. Email the show at patriots@eddiezipper.com. And please subscribe.